Today on the Rockbridge Report,
online sign-up for Round 2 of Obamacare opens up Saturday in 37 states. What changes you can expect this time around?
Frigid temperatures have arrived already here in Rockbridge County, but are snowy conditions to follow? I'll have all the details on your weekend weather report.
A lot of these people live and die football.
the Fighting Blues are undefeated heading into the playoffs. How their football season has given pride to the people of Buena Vista.
And European scientists landed a probe on a moving comet. Find out how they did it and more on this edition of the Rockbridge Report.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news for Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Good afternoon, Rockbridge County. I'm Maggie Volsky.
And I'm Stephen Young.
Protests in the Mexican state Guerrero continue as residents in Chilpancingo lash out at the federal government over September disappearances and believed murder of 43 student teachers. The students were part of a teachers' college in the town, and an organized crime unit is believed to be responsible for the kidnappings. At least 600 protesters stormed the streets of Chilpancingo as police spread tear gas to try to disperse the crowd. Instead, scenes such as these were the violent outcome. Fires broke out in the Congress building for the state of Guerrero, and cars were overturned before also being burned. Protesters are demanding better government efforts to stop organized crime and for the government to take more definitive action towards finding the missing students. Mexico's ambassador to the U.S. spoke to CNN's Christine Amanpour yesterday, saying that the Mexican government is still searching for the students.
It might be the case that they are dead, they have been killed. But we are not stopping the search here. The investigation is an open one, and we are actively searching for these students with 10,000 federal officers in that area as we speak. And of course, the parents are just entitled to get the response from authorities, both at the local and the federal level, and we are deploying every single means at our reach to do that.
The criminal gang may have connections to the local government, which is the root of the protests that have been taking place in Mexico since the disappearance in September.
The White House denied any reports that President Obama wants to change his strategy to combat ISIS in Syria. Earlier, senior U.S. officials and diplomats told CNN that President Obama has asked his national security team for another review of the U.S. policy towards Syria after realizing that ISIS may not be defeated without a political transition in Syria and the removal of President Bashar al-Assad. Deputy National Security Advisor for Strategic Communications Ben Rhodes spoke to the media this morning in Myanmar.
There's no formal strategy or review of our Syria policy. What there is a strategy for degrading and ultimately destroying ISIL that requires us to take a hard look at what we're doing on a regular basis. And as you know, we've had regular meetings that the President has joined with his national security team on this issue, and Syria has been an important subject at those meetings.
As the ISIS issue flares up, President Obama is in the Pacific region. Yesterday, the president met with Asian leaders at the Asian-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum in Beijing. In a dual press conference, Obama and Chinese President Xi Jinping both announced a joint resolution concerning global climate. The United States agreed to cut greenhouse gas emissions by nearly 1/3 from 2005 levels by 2025. China would peak its carbon emissions no later than 2030 and increase the use of non-fossil fuels to 20% also by 2030. The president continued his Asian trip.
But it is an achievable goal. It will double the pace at which we're reducing carbon pollution in the United States. It puts us on a path to achieving the deep emissions reductions by advanced economies that the scientific community says is necessary to prevent the most catastrophic effects of climate change.
The president continued his Asian trip by visiting Myanmar to speak about political reform for a country that has been oppressively ruled by the military for years. Next on the president's agenda is the G20 summit in Brisbane, Australia, which starts on Saturday.
Every fall, local colleges are required to make public reports on crime on their campuses. This year, they're dealing with a new federal standard on sexual misconduct as well. Lindsay Cates has more.
Until this year, most campus crime reporting was governed by the Clery Act, named for a young woman who was raped and murdered at Lehigh University in 1986. But now, federal law carves out a special category for sexual misconduct, even if it falls short of a crime. It requires colleges not just to report those incidents, they also have to show how they are dealing with the problem.
It can become very difficult to not only report and have to deal with from that perspective, but also difficult to go through an adjudication process because they're so complex and involved.
Washington and Lee University hired what it calls a Title IX coordinator after the federal law that has governed gender equity for decades. Campus security officers have been working closely with the new coordinator to handle reports of sexual misconduct. Virginia Military Institute and Southern Virginia University also have administrators responsible for making sure their universities comply.
The Title IX is, okay, how can we end this misconduct, prevent its recurrence, and address its effects? So the focus is different, the reporting requirements are different, and what we do with the report is different.
But administrators at W&L worry that the reporting requirements might not mean much. The government advertises the Clery Act as an important resource for prospective students and parents. Dean of Students Sydney Evans says she has rarely been asked about it.
There's some pending legislation out there right now where they're talking about rating campuses on sexual assault issues. I think anytime you do that, it's rife for misunderstanding because I do think a lot of these things need context.
Project Horizon's executive director, Judy Castile, a local expert on sexual violence, voiced another worry about the new requirements. If complaints cannot be guaranteed confidentiality, she says it might discourage students from coming forward. Washington and Lee is one of only a few schools in Virginia not under investigation for alleged Title IX violations. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Lindsay Cates.
Universities are required to make their crime reports public. Reports for W&L, VMI, and SVU can be found on their respective websites.
Superintendent of Lexington City Schools, Dan Lyons, has announced his retirement. Lyons will retire at the end of the school year and said June 30th will be his last day. He has been the superintendent of Lexington Public Schools for 13 years, and this is his 30th year in the school system. Lyons served as principal at Lilburn Downing Middle School for 5 years and also served as assistant principal at the county high school.
As Virginia Military Institute celebrates its 175th anniversary, it's facing some unpleasant budget news. The college will get about $440,000 less in state funding this year. That means that a 2% bonus planned for VMI employees is off the table, and it's been 6 years since they've had a raise. In September, Governor Terry McAuliffe told Virginia public colleges to develop plans for dealing with a 5% cut this year and 7% cut next year. The state is trying to offset a $2.4 billion shortage overall. VMI officials say they will not have to cut any programs or lay off any faculty or staff, but they say additional budget cuts will make this harder to keep those promises.
VMI also announced yesterday the beginning of the public phase of its $225 million fundraising campaign. The school said to the Associated Press yesterday that they have already collected $180 million through private contributions. The news release for the campaign, titled An Uncommon Purpose, A Glorious Past, A Brilliant Future, the campaign for VMI, coincided with Tuesday's 175th anniversary of the founding of VMI. Campaign Chairman Donald Wilkinson says funds raised by the campaign will be directed to 5 general areas. The areas are academics, athletics, core life, unrestricted annual gifts and endowments, and programs that preserve and promote VMI's legacy.
Coming up next,
it's done its job. We are on to comment.
A monumental achievement in science occurred yesterday, how this group of scientists landed a probe on a moving comet.
Also, the Affordable Care Act's online sign-up opens up again this weekend. What's different about it this time around?
And later, an undefeated football team brings excitement to the people of Buena Vista. Stay with us.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Smokey. Only you can prevent wildfires.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry?
10,
1
9,
in 23
8,
million.
7, 6, 5,
The
4,
odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
He's on his way. He doesn't even know that we're here. Is he okay? Please tell me he's okay.
Laura.
Okay, try to call him again.
There's no signal.
Try.
Nothing's working.
Well, just
Everything's
try.
down.
This is so bad. He's out there by himself.
Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov.
Welcome back. Residents in Ferguson, Missouri are preparing for the worst as the town awaits a grand jury decision in the Michael Brown shooting case. Business owners have been boarding up their stores in expectation of more protests and riots akin to what occurred during the protests over the summer. Forensic evidence and testimony from the witnesses, such as that from Brown's pathologist, were presented to the grand jury, and their decision could come as early as this weekend. Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson is accused of having shot Brown to death, with all forensic evidence indicating that Brown was shot a total of 6 times. The grand jury will decide if Wilson should be indicted on charges related to Brown's death.
A spaceship that traveled over 3 million miles during the course of 10 years finally reached its destination. In a monumental scientific achievement yesterday, European Space Agency scientists successfully landed a probe on a moving comet for the first time in human history. The mission was a success, but it did have its hiccups along the way. CNN's Tom Foreman has more.
The spaceship Rosetta flew 10 years over 300 million miles for a 41,000-mile-an-hour speed date with Comet 67P. The approach looked good as the landing probe called Philae was released.
We're still looking at how it's behaving, but we have telemetry.
Still, everyone in the European Space Agency waited breathlessly during the 7-hour unguided freefall to the comet's surface.
Yes, good.
And finally,
We are there, it's done its job. We are on the comet.
a tweet from the team, touchdown.
We can't be happier than what we are now. We definitely confirmed that the lander is on the surface.
Almost immediately, there was a complication. The probe was supposed to instantly anchor itself to the comet with a set of harpoons, which malfunctioned. But it was not enough worry to dampen the excitement. The 220-pound probe, about the size of a dishwasher, is now positioned to perform experiments never before attempted. It will analyze the temperature, chemical makeup, and behavior of the comet as it sweeps toward the sun, even drilling about a foot down to extract material that will then be heated in a robotic oven for analysis.
A small jump for the robot, a giant jump for mankind.
It is cutting-edge science so rare that even top experts seldom witness it.
This is the best expertise of the world because we are the first to have done that, and that will stay forever.
What will come of all this scrutiny of an ancient ball of ice, rock, and dust may be clues to the origin of the universe or the start of life on Earth. But the success of the landing is already a triumph of technological innovation, so much so that even William Shatner, who played Captain Kirk on the Star Trek series, was in awe.
We are proceeding into the neutral zone.
Tweeting, "Congratulations."
Steady as we go, Mr. Sulu.
Well, Stephen, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's gotten a lot colder outside.
Tell me about it, Maggie. My pumpkin's getting a little chilly out there. I wonder if it's here to stay.
Our weather analyst, Kinsey Grant, is in the studio to let us know if we can expect these temperatures to continue. Kinsey, what's it looking like out there?
Well, as you can see, it's a cloudy and overcast day here in Rockbridge County. We haven't had a whole lot of sunshine, and that lack of sun has kept our cold temperatures chilly throughout the day. We still have an entire month left of fall, but it seems winter is already here, and the Arctic blast is not sparing our area. Let's take a look at our current conditions. Right now, it's about 42 degrees in Lexington, and our low of 27 is only about 7 degrees warmer than the record of 20 set back in 1996. Let's take a look at the rest of the area to see if they're also feeling those wintry conditions. Now you'll see just about everywhere has temperatures in the 40s and clouds in the sky, except for Covington, which is already at 31 degrees, only 1 degree below freezing. Let's take a look at the minimum temperature map as we move into next week to see if that cold will stick around. Now, moving into next week, we have temperatures in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and it will be about 23 degrees in Roanoke on Wednesday night. So I advise you to bring in those pets, bring in your plants, and make sure to bring a jacket if you're headed out at night. Let's take a look at the 5-day forecast to see what you can expect moving into next week. Now, we do have some cold temperatures headed our way. The warmest we'll get this week is only about 46 degrees on Monday. We are expecting the chance of snow on Sunday and Monday nights as well. We will have some sun in the sky this weekend, though, on Friday and Saturday, so be sure to take advantage of it while it lasts because, as you can feel, winter is on its way and it's not slowing down. That's it for weather. Back to you.
Thanks, Kinsey. Our resident weather analyst from Florida isn't quite prepared for this snow, but how about you, Maggie? Are you ready for it?
Absolutely not. The weather was so beautiful at the beginning of this week. I'm not looking forward to those cold temperatures coming in, especially knowing that they're here to stay.
Saturday begins round 2 for Obamacare enrollment, with the federal government hoping that signups for plans under the Affordable Care Act are smoother than the first time around. CNN's Karen Kaifa looks at the expectations and what consumers need to know before signups start.
After much anticipation, last fall's kickoff to enrollment in healthcare plans under the Affordable Care Act did not go as planned.
Look, there's no denying it. Right now, the website is too slow. Too many people have gotten stuck, and I am not happy about it.
I am as frustrated and angry as anyone with the flawed launch of healthcare.gov.
Ahead of the second round of signups, the healthcare.gov website was tested over a period of 5 weeks in the hopes of avoiding another dismal performance. 37 states will use the federal exchange for 2015. The enrollment period officially begins on Saturday, November 15th, but in a new feature, consumers can take a sneak preview of plans in their area now and compare estimated premiums, deductibles, and maximum out-of-pocket payments. The Obama administration says this year's sign-up will be easier in other ways, too. The application process has been reduced from 76 screens to 16. Consumers re-enrolling in a plan will find that much of their information carries over instead of having to enter it again. Despite the promise of easier enrollment, the Obama administration said this week they expect 2015 enrollment to be lower than their original projection of 13 million, revising that number below 10 million. For Consumer Watch, I'm Karen Kaifa.
Coming up after the break, the R.E. Lee Episcopal Church held its 85th annual bazaar last weekend. We'll explain how a plum pudding recipe started this annual tradition.
And Lexington recently changed its policy regarding recycling glass. Find out where you can still recycle glass products. We'll be right back.
Hi, may I please have an application? Thank you.
Skip the drama.
2, 1.
Get your GED.
Okay.
Take that first step
10,
towards a better future
9,
and sign up
8,
for free classes now
7,
at yourged.org.
6.
If you store your guns properly, I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
I won't have to tell so many family members. I'm sorry.
I won't hear as many scary stories.
And I won't have to tell my kids. This isn't a drill.
Please.
Please, do it for us.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always, lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
No more pencils, no more books.
No more teachers, dirty looks.
School's out!
For summer.
What this place needed was better graduation rates. So we worked with schools like Henry Ford High, and now they're up 18%.
To help us do more good this year, go to unitedway.org, because great things happen when we live united.
If you want to be a parent, it doesn't matter how you play, what you wear, how you dance, or even what direction life takes you. You just need to be there. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care don't need perfection. They just need you.
In Buena Vista, an undefeated football season has the whole community hoping for a state championship. Rachel Adams-Hurd has the story.
Front yards and storefronts along the streets of Buena Vista show the town's support for Perry McClure High School. The Fighting Blues football team enters playoff season tomorrow after ending the regular season undefeated. The Blues are enjoying success not seen since the program's glory days in the 70s and 80s.
Like our coach has been telling us that one day we will accomplish being a state championship, and now here's the opportunity, and we're going for it.
The Class 1A team has a record of 10-0 going into tomorrow's game against Northumberland. Perry McClure High School has not won a district football title in 17 years. The team has not been undefeated in 36 years. Its last state title was in 1987. For Buena Vista, that's a long, long time, because Perry McClure football is more than just a game.
A lot of these people live and die football. We went to Bath County and we have more fans than they do. I mean, we go to these playoff games hundreds of miles away and we have more fans than they do.
Fans and even coaches remember the days when they played for the Blues.
I've gone to school here all my life and played for the 1983 state championship team.
Players say support from the community has them fired up to make the rest of the season a success.
It's amazing, plenty of support from the community, and then to me, it's basically life to me. I spent a whole year getting ready for this season.
The Fighting Blues kick off against Northumberland tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at Perry McClure.
And we're just hoping to win the state. And if we don't, it's okay. But they, the way they're playing, it looks like a good win.
For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Rachel Adams-Hurd.
Perry McClure High School is having a bonfire tonight at 7 o'clock at Camden Field to pump students up for the game.
Lexington asked residents and businesses to stop including glass with other recyclables. However, Rockbridge County is still collecting glass and taking it to auto recyclers. Lexington's policy change emerged October 13th when the city asked residents and businesses to stop including glass with other recyclables such as plastic, paper, and aluminum. The city said broken glass mixed with other recyclables in the load becomes contaminated and is unsafe to handle. R.E. Lee Episcopal Church raised more than $8,000 for charity at its annual bazaar Saturday. The Episcopal Church women have been organizing the bazaar since 1929. The tradition started with selling homemade plum puddings in 1925, and the full bazaar began 4 years later. That same plum pudding recipe is used today, and parishioners also donate household items and baked goods for sale. Parishioner Carol Dent admits it's a dying tradition, but hopes the Episcopal Church women can keep the 85-year-old tradition alive. The new restaurant 1850 at the Maple Hall Inn is closed for the winter. The restaurant announced on a Facebook post they would be closing due to unforeseen circumstances. The post also said the owners hope to open the restaurant again in the spring, and any updates to their status will be delivered to the public. The restaurant had previously gotten attention for being one of 3 new eateries to open in Rockbridge County over the summer, along with 2 downtown Lexington destinations, Haywoods and Roca. After the break, Stuart Scott will be here to hand you the weekend report on sports.
And a prominent broadcast journalist will be visiting Lexington this weekend. Find out more when we come back.
Sing and Tommy can't dance, so we're gonna put some ants in their pants. Aww.
Kids will spend 22 minutes watching us, the super duper party troopers, sing about ants in their pants.
Isn't that funny? Ants in their pants.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
Brushing for 2 minutes
5,
now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time. Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Enroll, we say. We want you to be okay. Enroll, we say. Take care of people for goodness sake.
There's a plan for every budget, so don't accept defeat.
Now you can get covered and still buy me treats.
You take care of your pets. Now it's their turn to take care of you. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn about your health insurance options.
The end of fall high school and college sports seasons means the start of winter sports.
Our sports anchor and birthday boy, Stuart Scott, is here to tell us what Rockbridge sports fans can go out and watch this weekend. Stuart?
Thanks, Stephen. And there are plenty of college sports taking place over the weekend. First, for volleyball, the Washington and Lee squad is in Springfield, Ohio today for the start of their NCAA Division III tournament regional matches. The Generals face the Mount Union Raiders today at 5:30 p.m. Mount Union is the winner of the Ohio Athletic Conference. If the Generals win, they will face the winner of Cabrini versus Wittenberg at 6 p.m. on Friday. Wittenberg is the regional host for the Generals bracket. 3 soccer teams recently finished off their seasons. Both Washington and Lee men and women lost in the Old Dominion Athletic Conference tournament last week. The men's team lost 5-1 to Roanoke in the quarterfinals held on November 4th. The team finished with an 11-5-2 overall record. The women's team lost in the ODAC championship game last Saturday against nationally ranked Lynchburg College, 1-0. The team's only 2 losses on the season were to Lynchburg, and they finished with a 15-2-1 overall record. VMI's men's soccer team also lost in its conference tournament last Saturday to end their season. The Furman Wildcats defeated the Keydets 1-0 in the Southern Athletic Conference tournament quarterfinals. VMI finished the year 1-17-1, with their sole win coming September 5th against UNC Asheville. This weekend is also the conclusion of football season for 2 universities. Washington and Lee will host Shenandoah Saturday at 1 p.m. in their final game of the season. The Generals will look to take home their second win of the season on Senior Day. Meanwhile, SVU will take on William Patterson University Saturday at 12 p.m. in their last game this season. The Dragons hope to end the year on a winning streak after garnering their first win last weekend against the College of New Jersey. VMI football travels to Western Carolina on Saturday to take on the Catamounts at 2 p.m. This game is the second to last regular season game for the Keydets, and the team is looking for its 3rd win of the season. With the conclusion of fall sports, that means it's time for the start of college basketball season. All 3 Rockbridge universities opened their seasons this weekend. Let's start with Washington and Lee. The men's team travels to Gettysburg this weekend to play in the Gettysburg Tip-Off Tournament. The Generals first play against Hood College at 6 p.m. Saturday and will face either Moravian or Gettysburg College on Sunday, with game time yet to be determined. The Generals women's team is at home this weekend as they host the W&L Tip-Off Classic. The women will take on Mary Baldwin Saturday with tip-off set for 4 p.m. and then on Sunday the team plays Methodist University at 2 p.m. SVU's men's team will hit the road for their first game of the season. They face off against the Emory and Henry Wasps Saturday night. Tip-off is set for 5 p.m. The women's team stays at home to open the 2014-2015 season. They host Averett University Saturday night at 7 p.m. Finally, VMI's basketball team will open its regular season in West Point, New York, as they take part in the All-Military Classic hosted by Army. VMI will first play Friday against Citadel, with tip-off at 5:30 p.m. The Keydets will then face either Army or Air Force on Saturday, with game time yet to be determined. As for high school sports, both Rockbridge County and Perry McClure start their basketball seasons next week. We already heard from Rachel Adams-Hurd about Perry McClure's playoff football game Friday night, and Rockbridge County's football season concluded last Friday with a loss to Northside High School. That's all for sports this week. Stephen, back to you.
Thanks, Stuart, and best of luck to all the teams who will be seeing action this weekend.
CBS News Vice President Ingrid Cyprian-Matthews will be on Washington and Lee's campus this weekend as the keynote speaker for the university's 58th Institute on Media Ethics. Cyprian-Matthews will give her keynote speech in Stackhouse Theater Friday at 5:30 p.m. The event is free and open to the public. Cyprian-Matthews has been the VP for CBS News since March 2011, after previously being the foreign editor. She is an Emmy Award-winning journalist, previously working for CNN and NPR before joining CBS News in October 1993. That's our broadcast today. Thanks for tuning in, Rockbridge County.
Be sure to check us out online at www.rockbridgereport.washingtonlee.net, and also make sure to check out Facebook and Twitter pages.
Have a great rest of your evening.